Guys, I have a hunch that the new Nightmare Lord is going to be coming a lot sooner than we expect, and I figured I would go over every single thing that we know about the brand new Nightmare Lord that is going to be coming. Now, I do have to do a couple disclaimers here. Number one is this is not leak content. This is all stuff you can find if you have a real keen eye. And number two is not everything here is confirmed. Some of it is, some of it isn't, but I will definitely elaborate when I get to the stuff. So without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe. Helps me out a ton, especially making content, and allows me to keep going further. So I appreciate all the support, but I don't really want to waste any of your guys' time. So let's just immediately go into the facts. Number one, the first piece of concrete 100% official news that we got was this in the dev insights. If you didn't know, on the main Watcher Realms Discord, there's something called dev insights where people will ask questions and certain devs will respond. And in one of the dev insights, maybe about a month ago or so, we got hit with this. Now the question is, we're currently overwhelmed with mage lords, which is true. Mentioned a ton here, and then says that they would rather it be a healer, fighter, or some kind of multi-placeable melee platform unit. Now the answer by the devs is, thank you for your feedback. The new Nightmare Lord will be a fighter. It will be a fighter. That is a big deal to know, because the class is one of the main parts of a hero, and the fact that we also know the faction is already a large part of the hero. Now, we do also speculate that because Ingrid was Watcher, which is like the parallel to Fighter, to Nightmare units, and Ingrid is an Arbiter dual faction, I think that the Nightmare unit will be a Nightmare Lord with a chaotic dual faction. So we already have a very, very solid guess for all of the factions and of the class. Now here is another thing kind of confirming it, where someone's saying that they don't really want the Nightmare Lord to be a fighter, which is completely fair. There is an oversaturation, but something to also consider is the quality of a Nightmare unit is going to be higher if it is a fighter, since, I mean, more attack speed, you got fighter, all of this stuff, it's going to make them better. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And here you could see that the Nightmare Council Lord is being developed, which means that it is very possible that it is going to drop sometime in the future, because, I mean, it's been on their minds for quite a long time. And then that we are also going to be getting more mage heroes. Here is just kind of an interlude where I'm going to say check the dev insights, because they even confirmed Nightmare 5 is coming later this year. But that's not what we are here for. What we are here for is, what is the Nightmare Fighter going to be? The Nightmare Lord going to be? And there are a couple guesses. Now, these are all taken, or at least most of these are taken by the Mabucket interview a very long time ago. I think it was like 9 months ago even. We're still getting new information, new content based around the stuff shown there. So it is very likely that something will be shown there that might end up coming true in the future, especially about this Nightmare Lord. Now this was my initial guess, since it looks like it's going to be a Nightmare chaotic unit. I thought they were going to go a different route than a fighter a long time ago, so this was my leading theory. But with the whole fighter thing, I think it is highly unlikely that she is going to be the Nightmare Lord. Now to move on is going to be this guy. I also thought this guy could have been the Nightmare Lord, because this guy is most likely going to be the Tide 2.0 boss. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh, maybe instead of, you know, making it only the boss and then not as a unit, I thought they were just going to reuse them for both, which, as lame as it could be, does definitely save on costs because you're able to repurpose these things. But I don't think that's the case either. This was guess number 2. Now the last two that I have are very, very, very likely that they are going to be options. Now the least likely of the two is going to be this guy. Let me zoom in a little bit It's a bit scuffed, but bear with me. This is who I thought was going to be a great fit. It doesn't really look very lordy, but it does look like it could be a nightmare unit and a chaotic dual faction. It looks very much like a fighter. I thought this is going to be a wrap. I thought this guy was going to be potentially the Nightmare Lord. But then recently, and here's where a little bit of leakage comes in, Panter, one of the leaker boys, big thanks to Panter, hit us with a very strong guess, and that is this guy. Now, he is naming him Ardia's daddy. Don't ask. This is a very important guess for a couple reasons. One is, although he doesn't really look like a Nightmare Lord, you can kind of see it. Number two, it is a fighter. And number three, he says it's going to be the Nightmare Lord. And, I mean, Panter's wrong all the time, and he's trolling a lot of the time, but it is definitely possible. Now, this is in no way confirmed whatsoever, but as you can see here, he says he's feeling bold today, so he's going to say second Nightmare Lord. If you zoom in, he says, I'm 100% sure that it's a possibility, which a statement in itself is not a claim by any means, but this is our main guess, and here is who I am going to be casting my vote as the next Nightmare Lord. This is the whole reason why I'm making this video, is because when we have new information on the most important next hero of the game, I have to make a video on it. It's just kind of my duty as someone who knows these things. And something else interesting to note about this guy is we actually have his animations, which I am going to show on the screen right now. So he is our leading possibility. He's the most developed, which makes sense since they would want to prioritize this sort of thing. And I think they are going to be dropping the Nightmare Lord in the next few months. I say I'm going to give it like 2-3 months or so. Maybe they'll drop it on Forerunner first. Maybe it'll be at both servers at the same time, Global and Forerunner. I do not know. But I think they are really, really catching up and trying to release the Nightmare Lord somewhat soon. I think it is very high on their list of things to do. Now, this is all speculation, but I want to go over some other guesses for how the Nightmare Lord is going to work as a unit. So we do know it's going to be a fighter, and fighters are very specific in their viability. You could have something like, let's say, an Elder. Elder is kind of bad because of his range. I think they kind of have to if they want to make it really strong, just like how they sold a lot of Ingrid, is they got to make them pretty strong. So they're probably going to be going with something closer to like a Valderon range, maybe even something similar to like an Arrogance range. Maybe they'll even go with something really weird like a Cyrus range or even a Lust type range. I don't know. If it is the Hammer guy, it is unlikely that he will have actual range. But like I said, that isn't even confirmed. So keep that in mind as well. Maybe even like an Ardia or something like that. Could be pretty interesting. I think as well, what they kind of should do is also similar to Arrogance, have them able to hit air. That's what I want to see. So that is absolutely possible. And then it will probably have a very unique mechanic, similar to like Valderon, where he has like a ton of revives. It's not going to be like that, I don't think, but they're probably going to have a very unique mechanic that not a lot of heroes have. But that is just all speculation right there. And straight up, if they're going to try to make them compete with Torador's Lord skill, it's going to have to be like the strongest Lord skill in the game. Or straight up, it might even be where Torador's Lord skill is better. But that's just me kind of jumping the gun and putting out a random guess or assumption there. That's not to be taken seriously. I just wanted to say it because I can. I just need to explain why this is such a big deal. So every faction has an Ancient Exclusive Lord, except for the Nightmare Council, which is pretty basic. I mean, obviously, these lords, the Ancient Exclusive Lords, in almost every case, are better. I would argue that Elder is the only one that is slightly worse, right? But the thing about the Nightmare Council is Torador is the most important normal lord in the game, by far. Even if he had a counterpart, I think he would still be very, very, very important. But if we have a second one, it's going to, one, allow people to have more chances of getting a Nightmare Lord or Lego Nightmare Lord, which is a big deal because the Nightmare faction gets better every day. Or not every day, but you get what I mean. They're getting better all the time. They're very, very, very strong, especially for endgame content, such as the guild bosses. And I think that this is one of the better factions to go with. Now, the other thing is going to be the fact that Ingrid was so strong, and clearly they are marking this lord to be a counterpart, which means that, number one, ancient exclusive lords are freaking broken as hell. They are game-changing, they are game-breaking, they shape the game as we know it. All of the really rare ancient exclusive lords are absolutely broken. If you go into the leaderboard, you're going to be hit with Ingrid, Valderon, Praetus, Yovar sometimes. You know, stuff like that. Cyrus is insane for Guild v Guild. You know, Sulkadin's is incredibly strong for boss content. All of these lords are freaking crazy. So any new one is a big deal. It's also been a long time since we've had one, so people are just kind of rabid and waiting for it. So realistically, it's going to be coming soon. If you think about it, we're going through a dry period between the Kagiri event, which is just ending right now, and then Christmas is going to be in the future. People are more likely to spend around Christmas, and we're just kind of being held over until the next big thing. I think it is entirely possible they just randomly drop the Nightmare Lord on us, so we have to be prepared. And I figured I would make this video just to try to give as much information as we have. I know it's not the most. I understand that. But it is a big deal, and we really, really have to be careful. And I just got to tell you guys, do not be pulling on any banners, okay? It is highly, highly possible that he or she, whatever the Nightmare Lord is going to be, is going to come soon. And it is incredibly likely that it is going to be Ingrid level. But keep in mind, nothing is really that concrete apart from the fact that it's a fighter. It's going to be a Nightmare Lord. I think it's very likely they're going to be chaotic, have multiple tiles and all of that stuff. And I think it is that this guy is going to be the Nightmare Fighter, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, before I go, last thing I'm going to say is what we are waiting for to get a confirmation right now. I know I don't really explain how leaks work very much, but what we are waiting for is essentially a Forerunner update where we are going to be able to see if anything was added that is Nightmare Lord related. And there is, coincidentally, a new Forerunner update coming very soon. So, I don't think it's guaranteed that we're going to get something. I don't think it's that likely, but if we do happen to get something, and have any form of confirmation at all, I will be immediately making a video on that and kind of, you know, sharing that information as soon as I can, because it is a big deal. That's it for me. I know it's not the most concrete, but that is all we know. Thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate all of you as always. Take what I said with a grain of salt when it comes to non-official stuff, and stay tuned for when we actually get the information. Like and subscribe, helps me out a ton, and Destined signing out.